the beast from Hollywood East, Michael the Hammer Mulligan.
Hey folks, Michael the Hammer Mulligan here. Today's guest, Mike Polvere from Cage Titans. What's up, Mike?
How's it going, Mike?
Awesome, awesome. Good to have you here. Mike did a show last year, brought me into the cage, let me introduce Fireside. He put on a great show at Memorial Hall. It was a good thing. Reality Fighting used to do it all the time. They put on a great show there. Somebody else did it once. It didn't do too good. I know Reality, the last one, and I'm not hacking, I love those guys. Last one they did, to me, they didn't put as much into it as they usually did. They didn't have the cards at the door. They didn't do a lot of stuff. You had what, live band?
Live bands. We had the full color printouts of the fight cards.
Exactly.
Yeah, we try to do things. You know, being a fan first, we try to take ourselves out of the equation and say, what would a fan want? Well, I go to print the night of weigh-ins.
Good for you.
So I try to be as accurate as possible.
Good.
You know, one time we did have a mishap where somebody got sick and he actually didn't show up the day of the fight. You know, that was one mishap, but we try to wait to the last minute to print. Weigh-ins are at 2 o'clock on a Friday. We go to print at 3 o'clock, and we're good to go.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Great idea. Now, you fought?
Yes, I fought 3 times as an amateur. I went 3-0 as an amateur. Made my pro debut, actually, at Memorial Hall was my pro debut.
Oh, no kidding.
For AFO.
Yeah.
And I won my pro debut, and then after that, I started up Cage Titans, so I've been away from the cage for a little while. Running with Cage Titans for the last year and a half.
Now, any plans to go back into the ring? Are you content with that? You want to go move on to the next step?
Oh man, that's the $1 million question. How about you? You got any plans to go back?
I'm 47 years old. We just had this discussion. Bottom line is, look, I just started training again because I wasn't doing it for a year. I had a back operation. I had a groin pull. You get older. You don't know yet, but you get older and you have these injuries. But now that I'm back in and I'm training again, if somebody ever said to me, look, Foley will fight you again, I would definitely take that fight. But I know he's retired and his wife won't let him, so I won't bother.
Hint, hint. You're saying that's the right promoter because Eric Foley and I actually trained together at South Shore Sports.
Oh, does he still train?
I haven't.
I'm sorry, Eric. I'm sorry.
All right, Foley. I'll be talking to you. But actually, I haven't been training over. My pro debut was April of 2010, so I haven't trained and consistently.
I seen you the other night rolling with Gretchen. You look pretty darn good. I actually, if you watch, I did after that show. He came over because I went in and I did some shots with, you seen me the shots of the people training, and we did after it was all over. My new thing for 2012 is I'm going to all the different schools, and I'm going to take a shot of the place so that everybody gets to see schools in their area as well. And then I'm also doing like Shane will come with me when he can, and whoever's running the show there who will do a move with him in the corner so that we're able to show moves on the show. So that's what we did. But I saw him rolling with Mike, and I said on the show with Mike, I saw that Mike getting beat by some young buck in the corner. And he gave you props. He says you're great at jits.
Yeah, I don't know if you must not have the right angle, because if you look at the top of my head,
I didn't see that until after.
You wouldn't have said a young buck. But, that's like $1 million question. A lot of times I get a lot of friends, a lot of fans, and, that come up to me. Mike, when are you going to get back in the cage? And honestly, I work full-time as a manager at Lombardo's in Randolph. I run Cage Titans. It's a lot of work.
It is.
To get in there consistently. When I was fighting, I'd be in the gym 6 days a week, 2-a-days every day, just to be in top shape. So maybe one day if the right offer came about and I had enough time, and once Cage Titans is off the ground, we're still in the very early stages. We've been around, under 2 years. Every show we're constantly looking to improve, and that's a full-time job in its own. Never mind the other stuff that I'm doing. Never mind adding on top of that, trying to get ready for the fight. But never say never, like you.
No kids, none of that stuff yet?
No, I have 2 kids.
Oh, you do?
I have 2 kids.
What do you got?
I have an 8 and a 3-year-old.
What are they, boys, girls?
2 boys, 8 and 3.
Beautiful.
So they keep me busy in addition to the jobs.
Oh man, I'm telling you, the kid, that's the greatest thing in the world. I said it to Pat. He goes, "Oh, dude, he had a shot of his kid in the penalty box." He was all like,
yeah, the kid's what it's all about. So I'm a very busy guy.
Yeah.
Fighting, as entertaining and as fun as it is, there's no feeling like it. Maybe sometime in the future, but not anytime soon.
Well, it's just like my job, building houses. Look, my father told me when I was a kid, if you want to see a carpenter make money, cut his hands off. So if I was in there doing that all the time, framing and building and doing everything else, I couldn't pay attention to the big picture, and that's kind of what you're trying to do with Cage Titans.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm starting to get people in place. When I started this company, it's all on me. I designed the website. I designed the posters. I matched the fight cards. The night of the show.
Too good with that, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Nice job. Yeah.
You know, I'm running the AV with the big screens. I mean, so a lot of it fell on my shoulders. In this past year, I brought in a PR person who does a lot of our charity events.
Yeah.
I have a full-time operations manager, so I'm starting to bring people in. New guy that designed our website, we just unveiled that a couple months ago, so all these things are taking off. And
Nice.
trying to get
Tell me about the charity events. Explain what we do there.
You know what? We have an opportunity to be in front of a large audience, and,
Yep.
and we want to be a company that's more about just throwing a cage in the middle of a room
Yep.
and being about fights. 3 shows ago, we had a fighter from Sidyatong, Eddie Lee.
Sure.
His uncle passed away from pancreatic cancer, and he wanted to come up with a way to bring awareness to pancreatic cancer and raise funds in his uncle's name. So he was going to donate all his ticket money, and then my PR person, Brandy, came up with this great way to come up with a raffle where all the proceeds went directly to pancreatic cancer.
Nice.
We did a match of what he raised, and we donated inside the ring with his ticket sales, the raffle, and our match.
Total contribution.
Total contribution was over $3,000.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that was one event.
That was one event. The following event, Davis Roast is also a Sidyatong fighter. He came to us. His best friend, one of his good friends, I should say, is part of the Travis Roy Foundation. He's a paraplegic. They actually stopped talking after high school for some reason, and what brought them together was when Davis had his first fight. His friend was an MMA fan, came to his first fight.
Beautiful.
So Davis's second fight, we raised money for Travis Roy Foundation. We raised over just under $2,000 for Travis Roy Foundation. And we're just constantly, if there's a fighter out there that's watching this that has a charity or a fundraiser that's close to their heart, you know, let us know. Last show in Plymouth Memorial Hall, Joe DeShavs had his best friend pass away, left behind a pregnant wife.
Oh.
So what we did is we did the same thing. We did some raffles. Joe donated his ticket percentage. We did a little bit of a match.
And I don't want to spend a lot of time. I didn't want to, make you spend time on this, but I think that's a great thing because, people can look at fighters in different ways, and this is just a great service that you're doing for the community.
Yeah, we really want to, show the community that we're not just, MMA is not a bunch of barbaric guys who jump in the cage with no skill and just slug it out.
Yeah.
We're human beings. Everybody has jobs. Everybody has families. There are some knuckleheads in the sport. I mean, but there's knuckleheads in baseball and football and every other sport as well.
Right.
But we want to be able to come to the area and raise awareness of these things that are close to these.
Give a little back for what you did. Yeah, that is awesome. That's awesome. All right, now your next fight in Plymouth is
January 28th, Saturday night.
What's your website?
www.cagetitansfc.com.
FC. What's the fight?
Fighting Championship.
Fighting Championship. There you go. All right, awesome. So that's how they can get a hold of you.
Yep.
How many fights do you think you're going to have for the night?
We're probably going to have about 14, 15 fights.
And keep in mind, folks, that this is, when they're putting together a fight card, there's a lot of people that come on board that say yes, and, this is a hard sport. People train and they get hurt.
You get hurt constantly. What we do to try to prevent that from happening, we use only the most reputable schools from the local area. We're not looking for independent fighters that have no accountability. We look for the reputable schools that these fighters, if they sign on the dotted line that they're fighting with us, they're going to get them to the cage.
Right.
Bearing an injury, because this is a high.
And that's not saying that the independents are bad fighters or bad guys or anything like that. It's just that you'll find that fighters are kind of like, I'll give you an example, Robbie Roberts. Great guy. His career coming up, he didn't win any fights. He lost, I think it was like, he was like 9-1 or something like that. When he came and he was with Matt Lee, he went to a good school, he started training with good trainers. They handle all the business. When you're with a good, reputable school, they're going to handle the business end of it. They're going to make sure you get there on weight, most of them. They're going to make sure that your blood work and your physicals are done. They're going to make sure so that the guy in there fighting doesn't have to worry about all that stuff getting done. The stuff won't fall through the cracks, So Robbie's a success story. He got with a great trainer, and he's had a very successful record since.
Yeah, it's great to have as a promoter or a matchmaker when you have a manager or a coach that oversees your career.
It's important.
I make one phone call to you know, Pat or Mike Gresh, and I say, hey, you got 3 fighters on my card. All 3 guys got their medicals done, and he's accountable for his 3 fighters from his school, as opposed to me working with independent schools, calling this guy or Facebook messaging him or texting him or trying to track him down,
right.
And say, hey, did you get your medicals, your blood work up to date? It's easier to work with those schools.
And the other thing is with the schools, the coaches, you know, when you're out there training independently and stuff, if you don't have a coach, somebody to be in your corner needling you, you tend to let things lapse to the last minute. And one of the major things is weight. And so a lot of guys, how many guys showed up for the last show not on weight?
Geez, Fernando Perez, one of your training guys from CCFA, his guy showed up 7 pounds overweight.
And he got to keep his money.
And he got to keep, I mean, luckily, the guy who showed up overweight was embarrassed, and he forfeited his whole entire purse, which is rare.
Right.
Most of the time, guys show up overweight, and they're like, oh, I'm overweight, and they expect you to take the fight. I know you had this topic on your show a couple times, but you know, your job is to show up on weight and fight.
Exactly.
2 things.
That's it. It's simple. You know, and I'll make the thing again. Shane's in the other room. Shane's eating a small meal tonight because he's got wrestling again on Wednesday night. He's wrestling Taunton. And you know as well as I do, in school, when you don't get a pound. You know, after you wrestle 3 matches, ooh, I get an extra pound next week.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's like, so this is important. It's an important thing. So again, the date was?
January 28th, Saturday, January 28th.
At Memorial Hall.
Yes.
Give me some fights.
Definitely, the interesting part. Fights, you know, you want to start at that best, or the top, or you want to work your way up?
Well, I want to save the Cowboys and Indians for last.
All right,
I'll save that for last.
So let me start with the amateur fights. You know, I know you're a Plymouth show, so I'll start with some of the guys that are
great. Yeah, exactly.
Down here towards the Cape, Bobby Flynn, who fights out of Pro
Elite. Bobby, yeah, good fighter. Nice of the Dynasty.
Bobby Flynn, he's 6-2. He has an amateur boxing experience. He won a Rocky Marciano tournament, so his hands are obviously going to be great.
Yep.
He's going to be fighting for a 155-pound amateur title.
Nice.
Against Peter Barrett, coming out of Max Training Center. Peter's a very skilled fighter. He's fought for us twice already.
It's Mike Varner's school.
Mike Varner's school up in Stoughton. Peter's coming off a brutal TKO victory at Victory Promotions up in Lowell, where he from guard, he knocked the guy out.
Really? On his back?
On his back, yeah. So,
oh my God.
So Peter
was
Barrett's
that punch or an elbow?
Yeah, just a hammer fist.
Really, huh?
Yeah,
wow.
And it was a guy from Social Sport Fighting that he knocked out. So that's a highly regarded school.
Sure.
So to beat somebody from that school, you know the kid's legit. So that's going to be for a 155-pound amateur title, and that's an exciting fight.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Couple other guys coming up. Brandon Fleming, who's currently ranked number 2 in New England at 145 pounds. He fights out of Celsius Sport Fighting. He's 5-0. He's going to be fighting Shannon Soares from Fall River, Gillette's MMA.
Nice. Gillette's good too. Yeah.
Any of the people who were at our last event in Plymouth, Shannon won by 8-second head kick knockout.
Oh, that was beautiful. Yeah.
So he's riding high off that victory. He wanted a shot.
Is that his last fight?
That was his last fight. He wanted a title fight right away. 145-pound champ's taking this show off. So Brandon Fleming was kind of standing in line and said, hey, I want a shot too. So
yeah, nice.
This is a way, #1 contender fight, so to speak.
Yep, beautiful. Beautiful.
We got a couple other amateurs. There's a Brian Sparrow from Pro Elite. He's 1-0. He'll be fighting.
Is he the tall, lanky, blonde-headed kid? Great fighter. I love watching him. I saw him.
CFX.
Yeah, we were there. Yeah.
He won Triangle.
All right, so Sparrow's a good kid. He's a good fighter. What else we got?
You know, we can jump to the pros. You wanted to hold this to the end, so we'll go over it now.
All right, cool.
We got Sean the Neckbreaker Baker from CCFA.
Awesome kid.
Awesome kid. 2-2 record right now. Colorful personality. He's the guy who comes with the Indian headdress. You've all seen him. He's taking on Sloppy Joe Lamoureux from South Shore Spot Fight. Sloppy Joe. You know, everybody knows Sloppy Joe. This guy is coming in with a 3-1 pro record. He was actually our first amateur champion at 185. He had a 6-1 amateur record. He's 3-1 in the pros.
He reminds me of Forrest Griffin. I seen him coming out that one fight. He just won the fight, and he's got blood all over him, and he was just happy as he couldn't. He just loved it.
Oh, this kid, every fight, if he's got blood on him, he's taking pictures, smiling, he's posting it up on Facebook, online. Exactly. He just really enjoys fighting. I mean, a little bit of backstory. He was an over 300-pound kid. Uncoordinated kind of fat kid that came into South Shore Sport Fighting, 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And he slimmed down and he's a grinder. You know.
It's the sport.
Yeah.
It's this sport. You know, people are, it's funny, when I first went to do it, I said, all right, well, I'm going to go get in shape before I do this. You can't get in shape for this.
No, not at all.
No.
You know, it's not at all. It's another level of conditioning.
Exactly.
But yeah, Sloppy Joe, he's a great fighter. He's an in-your-face, push the pace, push you against the cage, take you down, and try to pound you out.
What's with a sloppy?
He's just sloppy. That's really how the nickname came about. He's sloppy. He's not technical.
Sloppy like leaves your plate at the table, or he just does everything kind of like makes it through?
He's not technical anywhere. He's not great in any one aspect. He's just sloppy, but somehow it works for him. You know, things that wouldn't work for any other fighter just happen to work for Sloppy Joe.
And he's a character. This guy comes out the last fight. He comes out at CFX. And he comes out and he's rocking the Movember mustache coming down, and he looks like a 1970s porn star. And he's got the mustache on playing.
Yep.
In the background, Ken McDonald, he was going to referee, but he had to pull himself out of that one because he's rocking the Movember mustache as well.
Yeah, no conflict of interest.
No, yeah, that was it. He says, I'm going to have to take myself out of this, please. And Sean Baker, I was working with him today. This kid is intense. Yeah. He's a serious kid. So I don't know how these two are going to mix with Mr. Happy and Mr. Sad, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? Sean's a very dedicated guy. Or it seems like he's rededicated himself to the sport. I mean, he came in as kind of an independent fighter, tough guy from the streets. I don't know how much heart he had into training. He thought he might get by on his toughness.
On his looks?
Yeah.
No, that's Sloppy Joe.
Sloppy Joe. He's not winning any beauty contest. I don't think Sloppy Joe's winning any beauty contest.
No.
No offense, Sloppy. But he said it. But you know, it's going to be a great fight. Sean's with CCFA now. He's dedicated himself. I mean, he's really looking forward to this fight.
And he's delved into this sport. Not only is he doing that, not only is he training, you know, he's doing 3 classes tonight. He did a class today. He's really building his cardio for this fight. He really wants to win this. He's listening to everything. It's funny, is in the sport, you can see people that come in, they got the yabbats, yabba, you know, and you try to teach them something, you try to learn, and I was there. I thought I knew everything before I knew a freaking thing. You know what I mean? So he's really... He's hungry, he's a sponge, and he wants to learn what's going on, but he's also teaching kids classes. He's, you know, up in Stoughton, I think it was. He's teaching...
Max?
No, you know what? It isn't Stoughton. Maybe it is, but it's a different place, but it's more at a karate school. Yeah. So he's just teaching like a little MMA class for kids at the karate school, bringing some different stuff into the school. But bottom line is he's spending a lot more time in this sport than out there doing the stuff that could get you into trouble.
Yeah, you know... There's no denying the kid has skill. Yep. You know, he's a very skilled striker, great stand-up. He won his last fight by leg kicks.
Yeah.
I mean, he just chopped the guy down like he was a tree. So you know, he hits heavy, and he's definitely technical. He's hands down.
He's not sloppy.
Yeah, he's not sloppy. You know, but.
Not that being sloppy is a bad thing.
It's funny. On the flip side, you got Sloppy Joe, who's not technical, not proficient in any one specific area. But he gets it done.
He's unconventional.
Yeah, he's unconventional.
Which is hard to train for.
Yeah, what he's going to do with Baker, he's going to probably look to come out, get in his face. Baker's going to probably throw a kick. Sloppy's going to grin at him and smile and give him a sloppy look. And he's going to get in his face. He's going to push him against the cage. He's going to try to wear him out on the cage and take him down and pound him out and take Baker to the area where he thinks he's going to win that fight.
Right.
If Baker's smart in this fight, he's going to try to keep the distance. And he's going to be in, you know, and use his technique.
He's got, you know, and that's the thing too. Is just both of the schools that are training both of these guys are great schools. Both of these schools have great teaching ability, and they know how to scout people and find out what they got and train for it. So this is going to be no joke.
Yeah, it's no joke at all. I mean, Bill Mahoney with South Shore Sport Fighting and Scott Lockhart, these guys know what it's going to take to beat Baker. Yep. And Mike Gresh, Pat Schultz, those guys at CCFA know what it takes to beat Sloppy Joe.
It's all about the heart at this point, folks.
I was going to say, the game plan is going to be top-notch by both schools and with both fighters. Really, it's going to boil down to who's going to impose their will on the other.
Right. Who's going to listen to the game plan?
Who's going to listen to the
fall?
Exactly. Who's going to falter? And that's a super exciting fight. I mean, and throw into the fact that both guys are very colorful personalities. Right. They have a big following. You know, Sloppy with his over-the-top joking and happy-go-lucky attitude, and Baker with that headdress that he comes out with, and he's just like, when you see him in that headdress, you know the guy means business, and you can put him up next to any other fighter in New England, and probably people recognize him because
Right.
he has his little niche with his headdress, and people
which
know
is a
him.
personal family thing is the reason why he does it. So it is a very personal thing to him. So when Sloppy Joe comes with,
Yeah. Sloppy Joe, I mean, you know, you already seen the talk online. Sloppy Joe said it's going to be an old-fashioned Cowboys versus Indians fight.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a pretty simple comment, and Baker's already taken offense to it, and he said, "Oh, I'll be a real, you know, real Indian when I'm in my loincloth and with a tomahawk in my hand."
You know what that reminded me of too? When I heard that, I was thinking about. Did you see the Dale? What's his name? Shale Sutherland.
Shale Sutherland. Yeah.
Shale Sutherland. Did you see the thing where he was talking about the Guerra brothers?
Yeah.
Who was he talking about?
He said when he came here from America and he saw the bus, he thought it was a donkey.
Yeah. He started to feed it, going, "Oh, nice cow." But when he talked about. Somebody was going to do something. He goes, "What?" He goes, "I'm an American gangster. I'll home invade your ass." Sorry, hit me. And come in and take videos of you and the Nogueira brothers in bed working on your jitsu.
He was actually talking about Vanderlei Silva.
Exactly, that's what it was. Yeah, exactly.
So they're going to have a great back and forth. It's going to be easy for me as a promoter to
market it.
Fight.
Yeah.
I mean,
my God.
We always do hype videos where we interview all the pro fighters and we put together some training videos. And you know, Sloppy Joe's known for his off the wall. I mean, last hype video when he fought Josh Mellon at Plymouth Memorial Hall, he had those glasses with the fake nose and the mustache.
Was it his mustache though?
No, it wasn't his mustache at the time. You know, the fight before that, he had a little pony that he was sitting on, with a sledgehammer. He's just off the wall, the kid, and he enjoys this and he likes being insane. And so all the hype leading up to it, all the hype events that are leading into this fight is going to get people talking.
And you know, look, the guy has a blast with it, but he is very serious about the sport. He does go in there, and he does go in there to win. You know, it's not a joke to him. Once he gets in the ring, he trains, he does what he has to do. As sloppy as it may be, he still goes, he works his heart out, and he does what he has to do to bring it to the ring. That's just his way. Hey, look at me. I did it with my Foley interviews back in the day. You know, I did it with the Cody Light Days interviews, you know, and all that stuff. So it was, you know, I got to make it a little bit light for me because I get a little bit over the top intense, and it's probably the same way with him.
Well, you know what the thing is that if people are talking about you, it's a good thing.
Good press or bad press?
Good press or bad press, they're talking about it.
Exactly.
Chael Sonnen, we just mentioned him. He's a perfect example. He was just a generic wrestler, you know, from Oregon before. And then all of a sudden he starts talking trash.
I'm a gangster from Oregon.
Yeah. I mean, no one knew probably the average American probably didn't know his name.
Right.
And now if you ask some people, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, Chael Sonnen, I know him."
Exactly.
You know, so people talking about you. And the same thing with Baker. He has his thing. He's got a 2-2 record. Probably wouldn't be talked about that much.
Right.
But the fact that he comes out in the headdress, he has that look of a fighter.
He really does.
He's got that persona.
Yeah.
People know who Sean Baker is because of that.
Yeah.
So any local fighters out there, you know, I'm not saying that you have to be the talk of the talk like Chael Sonnen or wear a headdress, but get people to remember you.
Come on the show. Fighters, come on the show. We'll sit, we'll talk, we'll get to know you, let the fans know you. That's why we're here. I plan on having, hopefully I get Joey Proctor in here, who we're going to talk about next. I'm going to have an interview with Sean Baker, and I'm going to have an interview with Sloppy Joe. All of this will happen before the fight's on.
January 28th, Plymouth Memorial Hall.
There we go. Cage Titans online. So,
next, you want to go to the main event?
The main event, baby. Proctor.
All right, yeah, you just alluded to him. Joey Proctor is in our main event. He's the number 3 ranked 155 lightweight fighter in New England. He's fresh off a win down in Connecticut, Mohegan Sun, over the number 3, previous ranked number 3 fighter, Matt Bissett.
Nice.
He's going to be fighting for a 155-pound title against Jimmy Davidson from Sid Tom.
Beautiful.
Joey's a Pembroke guy, trains at Lowe's on MMA in Bridgewater. He's got some local ties, a couple towns over from Plymouth. Jimmy Davidson was a Sandwich High School standout wrestler.
Yep.
Another local guy.
He's another wrestler, big in the sport.
Big wrestler in the sport. I mean, it's really the work ethic that brings that they
We
have.
talked about the weight earlier.
Yep.
You know, you come with your game already set. You already have that ethic. Exactly.
So these two guys are going to go at it. They got a little bit of a backstory. I'm big. You know, you can put a great fight on between two great fighters, but if you don't really get anything for the fans to talk about, it kind of falls by the wayside a little.
Exactly.
But this has a little bit of a backstory. Both guys just recently went out to the Ultimate Fighter tryouts in Las Vegas. Joey Proctor, basically how the tryouts work out, it's the first round is rolling,
Yep.
and just doing some jits.
And you're waiting there for like 8 hours a day with all these people. It's almost like an American Idol thing at this point, right?
There's over 300 fighters waiting to try out. So, I mean, you're sitting there from 7 o'clock in the morning until, I think Jimmy Davidson told me he didn't try out until 7 o'clock at night.
Wow, it was 12 hours of sitting.
Yeah, so
after
basically, after the drive or after the flight or whatever you do. But basically, you roll, you do jits for the first round. Second round's hitting mitts, and if you make it through, you make it to the interview round. Jimmy Davidson made it through the first 2 rounds, but basically got told with a 3-0 record, though you're undefeated, you need a couple more wins before we'd introduce you into the show. Joey Proctor made it all the way to the interview rounds. Now that didn't guarantee him a spot on the show, but it at least got him down to the final round.
He got further in, so one guy left and one guy was still there. So
Jimmy Davidson that next morning on
friction.
Yeah, a little friction. Jimmy Davidson the next day on Facebook basically blasted out there and say, "I'm going to prove to Dana White and the UFC they picked the wrong guy, and they sent me home too early." So he's got a little statement to prove. Probably a little extra motivation.
Yep.
You know, Jimmy's probably in the gym, you know, thinking of this the entire time. Every minute of his training camp, he's probably playing over in his head, sitting next to Joe White and Dana White. Joe Silver and Dana White, them saying to him, "You need a little more experience." So that's probably playing in his mind.
That's eating a hole in his brain right now.
Yeah, so January 28th, he gets his chance to say, Dana White and Joe Silver, you picked the wrong guy. And we'll see what happens. January 28th. Joey Proctor is no joke. I mean, this guy is 7-1 as a pro.
And he's a local guy, folks. He's right in your backyard. So this is somebody you're gonna want to see, because I think he is gonna end up on the UFC someday. Maybe Jimmy too. You know, these fighters what happens here is, look, we're all farms, okay? We're all the minor leagues. This is where the people come up. Guys like me started at 43 years old. I ain't going nowhere, okay? You know, guys like my son, we're going to start him off when he gets to 18 years old. He's probably going to do 10 to 15 amateurs before he'll ever even see those 6-ounce, 4-ounce gloves, you know? And then he'll go in for that. But those are the guys that are being bred in this sport today is hybrids. They're not just the one thing that started before, you know, Gracie started jiu-jitsu. They were the beginning. Then it went to Muay Thai. Then it was wrestling. Now it's all these young hybrids coming up with all these brand new skills. So when you get out and you see the fights like his, see the CFXs, see all the fights, go up to Twin Rivers, whatever, you got to go see the fights, because these are the guys that are going to be stars. They're going to be the rock stars of the sport.
Yeah, you know, you get a chance to say, you know, maybe a year down the line, say, hey, I remember seeing that guy Jimmy Davidson and Joey Proctor fight in Plymouth Memorial Hall.
He's from my town.
Yeah, he's from my town, next town over. Or you look back, John Jones, huge in the sport, #1 205. They're talking about him being the best fighter ever. He actually fought locally in Plymouth.
Right, he fought in Plymouth, and Kevin McDonald was the ref in the fight. So he's the best fighter in the world right now. Didn't Anderson Silva say online? Didn't he say, I want to fight? He tweeted that after the fight. I want to fight John Jones.
Yeah, so these are the stars of tomorrow, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, and you get a chance to see them in your own backyard, and then for that one day when they do make it big. Tateki Matsuda, who's our 135-pound champ, he made the Ultimate Fighter last season.
Yeah.
You know, they'll watch TV and be like, wow, that's the Cage Titans champ. That's cool to say.
Greg Rubello, Pat Schultz, Lazans, just...
I mean, our 175-pound champ was Chuck O'Neal, and 2 seasons ago, he made it all the way through.
It seems like it was yesterday. He was saying 2 seasons ago.
I was going to say, Chuck O'Neal was our very first champion. He fought on our very first show a year and a half ago. Next thing you know, he's on the Ultimate Fighter. He's fighting on the pay-per-view, on the Ultimate Fight Night. I mean, this guy...
Northeast is huge for breeding good fighters.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of good schools, yeah.
And you got a chance to see 2 of the best.
Mike has the vision to understand that he's got all this talent right here in the backyard, and he's nice enough to bring it to us. So, listen, we killed the time. We're done. Mike, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Cage Titans. What date?
January 28th.
January 28th, Memorial Hall, our hometown palace. Thank you very much for coming. Folks, thanks for coming to another Fireside Chat with Michael the Hammer Mulligan.